Hi, I'm just here doing the service and the checkover on your Yamaha Wolverine X4. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the items from the service list, excuse me, that had issues with them, and we won't touch on anything that I didn't have any problems with, just to try to make things a little bit shorter here. So let's see. First thing, I've already put the top back on it, but your foam filter needs cleaned. It's quite dirty. And the pleated filter underneath, that should also be replaced at this time. So I'll include those parts on the estimate. I also, when I load tested your battery, I found that the negative lead, so that's this guy up here, the bolt wasn't tight. So I don't know how long that's been like that, but for sure that causes a resistance when you have a bad connection, basically. So that makes it so that your battery's not charging up the way it's supposed to be when the bike is running. It's going to be harder to start the bike because it's not getting the right amount of cold cranking amps to start it, and so on. So I've tightened that up, and when I load tested the battery, it was only at about 60% charge. So, and the cold cranking amps were lower than what the battery's rated at. So I will charge that up and retest it. I think the battery's going to test okay, but for sure that's something that you got to make sure that when they get loose, make sure they're snug. Make sure they're tightened up. Normal things that's going to be done during the service. The front differential fluid change is included in this service. I'm going to add in the rear diff fluid as well. The check of it is included, but I would definitely recommend that you change it out at this time. Found the coolant level in the radiator was okay when I popped the cap off, but the level in the bottle is down below the low line. Haven't had a good peek in yet at the radiator. Yeah, we got a bit of mud buildup, especially down in those let's see if I can get the focus. Sometimes it's hard to get the focus through grills. Nope, doesn't want to get along with me. Anyway, you have mud buildup in the lower corners. And, oh, there we can go this way. Down there on the lower side and down on that lower side. Anywhere you have restrictions to airflow in the radiator is going to reduce the cooling capacity for sure when the fan's running, because it's not going to be running pulling air through as much as it should be. All I can recommend with that is to try to use some kind of a cleaner that'll soften all the mud up, and use a regular garden hose, no high pressure, and just an easy spray with a regular garden hose. I wouldn't even use a nozzle because those aluminum fins are really delicate, and you can bend them pretty easy. So that is something that will make it so that your cooling system's working a little bit closer to what it's supposed to be. And for sure, if you're poking through trails and you've got a radiator that's partially plugged up, the coolant's going to get hotter than what it's supposed to. And that's usually the result of that is usually you start seeing coolant bottles that get low because it starts to overheat because the fan can't keep up. But I am going to run the bike up to temperature while it's here, just to make sure that the cooling fan's cycling the way it's supposed to. I don't want to hear it start and the bearings sound like they're going out of it or anything like that. And I want to make sure that it only runs for a certain amount of time, turns off, and the time is fairly consistent while it's sitting and idling. Next, for your steering components. You're going to need an outer tie rod end on both sides. They both have play in them. Just give me a second here. I got to turn the page because I'm starting to forget what's actually written in my notes. Let's see. Yep, so left and right outer tie rod ends. On the suspension components, you're going to need front lower bushings and sleeves for the control arm. So all I'm going to do is grab this like this and push back and forth. And I'm sure that in the video you can see the movement between here and here. So that needs new bushings and sleeves. You need left and right front wheel bearings. You need left and right rear wheel bearings. It's kind of hard to show that to you without the wheels on anymore, but you need wheel bearings in both the front and the back. Brake fluid is overdue for a change. That should be changed every 2 to 3 years. And I can guarantee you when I take that cap off, I'm going to find water between the cap and the diaphragm. So just because of where these sit, I find that Yamahas seem to be pretty susceptible to getting water inside those. And then that doesn't help the brake system work very well. It starts sticking things up and stuff. So change out your brake fluid. Front brake pads are good. Front rotors were good. The rear brake pads, they've been changed before because those aren't OEM for sure. And they almost look like they're organic pads. I always use sintered metal on side-by-sides just because of the weight of them. So we've got mud buildup in the caliper. I'll clean that out. I'll make sure the sliders are all lubricated and working the way they're supposed to. I did move them all by hand, and they all seem to wiggle and stuff the way they should. But I'll make sure they're all in good shape, and we'll change and put new pads on both sides because, well, we're almost down to metal now, so you don't want to have that. What's next? Give me 1 second to orientate myself here with my list. You know you have your left rear tire. It's going down on air. I think we talked about that, or maybe you're a different person. This one here is definitely going down on air, so we have to make sure we get that. You have to get that addressed somewhere. I don't do tire changes. I can check it for leaks. If it's leaking around the rim, that's something where it would have to be broken down on the bead and resealed. If it's leaking out through the tread and has a hole in it somewhere, I could put a plug in it, or you could take it somewhere and you can have it taken off the wheel, and you can have a patch put on it on the inside. It's 1 second. Just going through, making sure I haven't forgotten anything. I think that's it. So what I'll do is I'll put together an estimate for you that includes those items, and I'll send that along, and then we'll go from there and see what I can get you scheduled in to be able to have all that stuff done and fixed up for you so that you're all ready for spring next year. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.